I'd been living and working in Boston for over 10 years, and I got to the point where my job was in a bit of a rut, and my social life was in a bit of a rut, and I felt like it was time to make a change. And so I started looking for a new job, and was very open to moving to another location. And also turns out I was dating somebody who lived in South Carolina at the time, and so that made it more open for me to move, especially down that way. And so I had my eyes open. I did a few interviews, and then sort of out of the blue, a former colleague of mine called me and said, "Hey, down here in Atlanta, I work for a company now that could really use you, and you should come down and interview, and we'd love to have you on board." And so, Atlanta was pretty close to where this girl lived, so I was intrigued. Anyway, I went down, did the interview. People seemed nice. The job seemed nice. They made me a nice offer. And before I know it, I had sort of accepted it and was on my way down. Uh, and I got there in August, and even before I started, I had a couple of discussions with one of the secretaries about my relocation, which I thought was all set, and then they kind of suggested making a couple of changes, and I got really really bothered, really disturbed. Ended up talking to the person I'd be working for, and eventually got things straightened out. But anyway, it gave me kind of a funny feeling even before I'd started the job. But then I started working, and it was kind of a crazy place. Probably more my fault than the place's fault. I mean, the company was the company. It had its own culture, and it was strong, and it just was a weird fit with me. I found right away I felt uncomfortable, and gosh, after even a couple of weeks of work there, I felt like, gosh, I made a terrible mistake. I didn't do enough research in this to have made the proper decision, and now I'm kind of stuck in this job that I don't like at this company that I'm not too crazy about either. And despite all that, there were really nice people that I worked with, and friends that I made pretty quickly there. But still, there was an overall sense that I wasn't in the right place for me. Um, Luckily enough, a guy that I had worked for up in Boston had also moved down to Atlanta, and he was in a senior management position at another company down there. And a few months after I started working there, he said, "You should come over to our place. We're really growing. We could really use you. I think you'll really enjoy it." And I said, "No, I just started. I can't. That's not my style, is to sort of bail out so quickly." He persisted over the next few months, and I met more of the people there, and it took sort of a longer time, made a maybe a more reasoned decision, and ended up leaving this other company after only 9 months and moving over to this other company, um, which turned out to be a great move. It was really a wonderful situation for me. It was a company that was crazy in its own way, but its craziness suited me better than the other companies. Um, and so it was one of those really dumb mistakes, really poor judgment and lack of kind of thought to jump into this opportunity that, of course, like many things, ends up being really working out very well, because I really enjoyed this company. It gave me a lot of opportunity. It really launched me to the next level of my career. And I probably wouldn't have had access to that if I hadn't made the move down to Atlanta. Um, One other side benefit of that was one of the nice people that I met in my job, the place that I moved down to that I left so quickly, I ended up marrying her a little while later, and here we are today. So the mistakes you make sometimes affect your life in a positive way, and this was one of those.